Hello, you're welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to create a keyhole neckline. So first, my pattern paper is going to be on fold. Okay, so to be on fold so that when I'm done, I'll be able to open everything up properly. Then after that, I'll go ahead and fix in the body measurement. That's the bust point, which is 10.5 inches for bust point. Then the under bust 13.5. Then the waistline, which is 17 inches. Okay, then I'll connect it with a straight ruler. So doing this, I'm just doing the basic bodice first. The neckline, I measure 3 inches. Then the shoulder length 7.5 plus 1 inch for ease. Then I'll come down by ½ inch. Connect this to the neckline. Now this is the shoulder slope. Then now the armhole, we need to create the armhole. That's where the sleeve is going to fit in. So I went down by about inches. And now to calculate this is just your bust measurement, your bust round divided by 6 plus 1.5. Okay, that's how to create your armhole. Excuse me. Then you find the midpoint of this, armhole. Then come in by 3/4 inch and create the armhole curve, just the way I'm marking this. So this is the armhole curve. Then I went ahead to measure the bust distance, which is the nipple to nipple measurement. So I'll be using 3/4 inches for this, which is 3.75. So I measure on the bust point, under bust, and the waistline. Then you come to the shoulder. From the neckline to the end of the shoulder, divided by 2. Just find the midpoint of the shoulder slope. Then connect it to the bust point. Then from the bust point, I went down by 1 inch. Okay. Then on the waistline, all my dart allowance is going to be 2 inches. So I decided to take 1 inch on one part, ½ inch on one part, then 1.5 inches on the other part. So the side that is closer to the center front, I measured ½ inch. Then the other side towards the side seam, I measured 1.5 inches. Then from my under bust, you create a curve this way to your bust point. That is to the 1 inch below your bust point. I measure 1 inch below the bust point. So this is our dart. Okay. So I'm just making sure the curve it's all right. Okay. So after creating this dart now, you need to determine the neck depth, because first we are creating a tube. Okay, that is what this dress means. This keyhole, we need to create something like a tube. We need to create a tube first and now work on the upper yoke. So that dotted line is my upper chest line, which is the one from the armhole. Then now what I'm going to do about this, because I don't want cleavage showing. So whatever I have from my bust point to my under bust, I measure the same thing upward, from my bust point upward. So I think the distance from my bust point to under bust is, I think 3 inches or 3.5 inches. So I just measure the same thing up. So that's going to be the neckline for the tube. Okay. Then I'll now create that on it also. So it depends on how you want the dart. Okay, I'll make it 1 on both sides, or half on one side and 1.5 inches on the other side. But for the sake of this tutorial, I only did 1 inch on both sides and connect it to the bust point. My neck tube neckline, okay, I measure 1 inch on both sides, then connect it to my bust point. Okay, so that is it with the dart, honestly. So now from my tube neckline now, you might want to create a sweetheart neck or something a bit down. So that's why I went down by 1 inch to create a bit of sweetheart neck there. But still, it's not going to be deep. So I just went down by 1 inch. So if you want something modest, you can go with this measurement, please. no cleavage will show. So this part I mark red is just the way I'm going to cut it out. So you need to blend this neckline to the armhole so that everything will fit in properly. So now fixing my bust measurement divided, my bust round divided by 4, which is 9.5. Then whatever you have for the dart allowance, which is 2 inches, then 2 inches for seam allowance. Then I'll come to the waistline also and measure the waist round divided by 4. Okay, it's about 8.25. Then whatever I have for the dart, which is 2 inches for the dart allowance and another 2 inches for my seam allowance. Then you connect it like so. So I prefer to use the curved part of my ruler so that it can fit properly on the body. So it's not just straight. I want this to be firm, to hold the body firmly. And that is it. So I extended the neck width by the half, that's 3.5. Then 3.5 also for the neck depth. So that's going to be the neckline for the yoke. Remember, tube and yoke. So then you cut it out carefully, please. So this is the yoke. Now let's work on our keyhole now. So on the yoke part now, in order to create the keyhole, so from my center front, I went up like about 2 inches. You can make it 2 inches or 2.5 inches. Okay, so first I measure 2 inches. So it depends on where you want the keyhole to be, the yoke to be inserted or the tube. Okay, so this is 2 inches. So I want it to be inserted somewhere around the dart line. You can see where it stopped. Then when you want to join it, you also make sure it's stopped at the same place. You see? So I'm going to insert the yoke at the dart line over there. So this is what we have by the time you bring them together. So initially I measured 2 inches, so I went ahead to remove another half inch. So altogether my keyhole is going to be about 2.5 inches. You understand? 2.5 inches, and it was still okay. It was still decent enough. So now I've opened up everything. This is how it looks like. This is what we have. Okay, so now let's work on the back. So the back, I'm not going to put my paper on fold, so I just measure the bust point and my waistline. The same thing, bust point 10.5 and the waistline. Then you connect the dotted lines. Then you measure 1 inch for your zipper allowance. So that 1 inch is for zipper allowance. So I'll be using a different method of drafting my back pattern this time, and it actually came out beautifully. So the neck width 3 inches, and measure the shoulder length, add half inch for his sewing allowance, then create the armhole. And remember I said in order to know the measurement for creating your armhole, you divide your bust measurement, your bust round divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches, whatever you have. That's what you use to create your armhole. So for the back pattern, we're not going in by any inches, so you're just going to create the cuff here. Then I'm creating the dart for the back. So note that for the back, that you come down. I'll be coming down by, yes, the bust distance. After measuring the bust distance, you come down by 1 inch from your upper chest line. From your upper chest line, you come down by 1 inch. Okay, then you connect it to the waistline. Then I'll be creating a princess dart for the back. So just watch carefully the way I draw this out. Then I measure half inch on both sides. then connect it like so. Okay, then you make sure you blend that part so that it won't be so pointed. Now fixing my bust round divided by 4, 9.5, then plus 2 inches for seam allowance. Note that allowance there. Then on the waist, I measure 8¼ which is my waist divided by 4. Then the dart allowance, which is 1 inch, then 2 inches for seam allowance. Then I'll also connect it together with this curved part of my ruler. So now for the neck depth, so I'll be using 3 inches, 3 or 3.5 inches. I think I use 3.5 inches. Then neck width also 3.5 inches. So 3.5 by 3.5. Yeah, you create it. Just a simple round neck line. So now, in order to have a fitted cloth at the back, so what we are going to do now, after drafting the whole thing, I will just deduct some inches. So you can make it 3/4 inch or 1 inch. So I deducted 3/4 inch from my already made pattern. Then connect it to the top. It can stop at the neckline or to the main top. Just see the way I created mine. So this method, you first draft the basic, the main thing you wanted to draw. Then you now deduct some inches from the waistline. So by doing this, your back will be fitted at the center back properly. There'll be no excess bulge in there. Then you cut it out carefully. Okay, so this is what I have after joining the center front. So I've also stitched the yoke with lining because I use the same fabric for lining also. Then I add interfacing. So this is what I have. Just see the way I join it carefully. So now in order to join the yoke to the bodice, okay, so we'll go ahead, find the center of the yoke, the center front of the yoke, and also locate the center front for the tube. Then you pin it together. But it's better you start from the center front so that they'll be inserted at the same place. So after fixing the yoke, you will now fix the lining on top of the yoke. So the yoke is going to be between the tube and the tube lining. Just like this. So make sure you arrange it properly. Know the way you draft it. So you do the same thing for the other side also. So our pin is required, honestly. So you stitch on 1/2 inch carefully. So when you get to the point of insertion, that's around that area, okay, you stitch carefully, be mindful of that place. When you get to the point where the yoke was inserted to the tube, so you now need to use your hand manually to push the yoke away from your sewing. If not, so that you don't make the mistake, since you've pinned everything together, so that you won't make the mistake of stitching the whole thing together. Remember, the keyhole must be there. So you use your hand manually to push back the yoke when you get to the point where the keyhole style needs to take effect. You just need to be technical about this. So all this part I'm sewing now is where the keyhole is going to be. So I make sure I'm not sewing the yoke there. So please be careful while working on this part. Then once you are done, you continue sewing the two together. Okay, so that is all. Then you go ahead and iron it, and this is what I have. So please, I hope you find this video helpful. Please give it a thumbs up. Remember to like this video, please. I know you will. Please like the video. And if I yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.